game's all the way fucked up. So we're just like hanging out all the time, and we're just relaxing. We're sitting down most of the time, most of us, and like the getting up and doing something is the extracurricular. It's the so like the whole thing has reversed, and we grew up in it, so we don't know any different. You ask most people, they don't even like people. Like they'll tell you. Most people will tell you if you ask them, what are you following? What do you follow? Like when you look online, like what are you following?
I follow like some of the artists I like.
Of course. Still the music lover, of course.
Yeah.
That's never going anywhere.
No, that's not going anywhere. I follow some PTs that I really like what they're doing online, and like they're pretty educational. There's this one lady that I follow. She's like a neuro PT, which is kind of the field that I'm interested in going into. And so
tell me about that. Instead of just physical therapy, like what is neuro? Like how are you getting into neuro physical therapy? What does that mean exactly?
So that's like people that have suffered from neurologic conditions. So like people who are survivors of like a stroke or a traumatic brain injury, they have all of these physical deficits after something like that. And so
how would one, and I mean, this would be a very stupid question, but I have to ask it. What would be an example of a difference in the way that a neurophysical therapist might go about helping someone in therapy versus a regular physical therapist? Like what might neurologically be taking place that you would have to take an account for within the physical therapy?
So neuro PTs, they kind of look at things like more functionally, right? So like when you're working with a neuro PT, it's more like, okay, we're practicing what you need to do in your day-to-day life. And so like a lot of times it's like practicing walking, practicing like lifting things, practicing all of these things to enhance neuroplasticity, which is the way like your brain can rebuild itself after these injuries. So we, as a neuro PT, you're hoping to facilitate that neuroplasticity, whereas like an outpatient orthopedist, they're working to facilitate motion or facilitate more movement. It's just kind of looking at things a little bit differently. So they look more, okay, the elbow hurts. We are going to like work all around the elbow. We're going to do massage and things like that to make it feel better. You can't like massage someone's brain. No,
you did say though. It's interesting that we have this knowledge now, because we were just talking about how you went to Guatemala and like they're just where they're at in education. It's just behind as far as where we are with the advancements and just conventional understandings of physical therapy. And it's interesting that you say neurophysical therapist. I have to ask, is this new? Reason being why I ask is because you talked about neuroplasticity, and I feel like neuroplasticity is a relatively new understanding, right? And when I say relatively, I mean, didn't we figure or start hearing about this in like the last 15 years?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah, definitely. It's a newer way of looking at things.
So this is a newer position than like a newer title, a neurophysical therapist.
I think like within physical therapy, specialization is getting a lot more attention. There's a lot more like residency programs. Like say I wanted to like go be a student for another year and like really specialize in this population. That's like becoming more common. And so like I feel like older PTs or like are more general practitioners, like they see whatever comes to them, whereas I feel like people graduating like my age are more into that like specific specialization.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds fucking awesome. I'm just glad that you're out here doing this shit. You've been doing it for a while now, and it's always very cool. I've had a few people on here that have that I felt like have been an inspiration for anyone that wants to do something. You've been one of those people. There's been a guy on here named Chris Sluggo Hayes. He was a very, very cool guy. He does film hunting or hunting film now for people.
Okay.
Very, very cool stuff. There's a barber I know, but there's just like a wedding photographer that I know. Certain people that have just, when I met them, they were doing this thing and they just like stuck with it. And later on down the line, they're killing that shit. And it's just very, very cool to see you do that.
Yeah. It feels really good to 2 weeks of class left in my program. Then I graduate and then I go on. I have one more internship this summer to really just like hammer everything down. And then I have to take my licensure exam this summer. And then I'll finally get to do the thing on my own, which is crazy.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
As I've been like looking for jobs, I've been like asking about like mentorship programs because I'm like, I am a little nervous about like doing it on my own. Obviously, it'll be my first time. So it would be nice to have a little bit of support like built into the job.
Yeah. Look at you. You're looking at the important things. You're asking some important questions. Can I have a mentor, please?
Yeah.
I don't want to be thrown into. I feel like that's a huge issue with most places is training.
Yeah.
Like they're being a mentor. But then again, some people just really believe in throwing a person into the flames. And like you'll figure it out. Like you're gonna figure it out like the rest of us did.
Yeah. I feel like with PT, partially because like you have to do so much like clinical hours working under someone while you're in school. I feel like we already kind of have that idea that we are going to be mentors to each other. Because you kind of build these like really collaborative relationships with this person that you're working under. And so, yeah, I feel like going into the field, you know, that part of the field is like educating. And yeah, it's a cool part of the field. I definitely see myself like going into education at some point later down the line.
Right. Because right now you're particularly working with elderly. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. This summer I'm going to be doing home health. So I'm going to be going to like elderly folks' homes.
Very nice. Do you bring like do you have a fold up table or something that you bring in there? Or
I don't know what my clinic instructor has. I'm going to be like riding around in the car all day with her. But yeah, I will bring like a backpack, I guess, with some. I'm not going to carry weights around or something. That'd be crazy.
I mean, I don't know how this goes. Like, what do they have the stuff? Do you know, like who purchases the equipment? Who has the stuff? Do they have this? That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have some stuff. Like I have like blood pressure cuff or like bands, exercise bands. That's pretty easy to carry around. Yeah.
No, okay.
Well, I'll have to get a little creative and like
Do you give massages? Is that a part of your repertoire at all? Like small, targeted, maybe like let's keep it specific. Like very, like if I say, like if I'm having if I'm having a hip issue, as I was talking to you before, right? If I'm having a hip issue and I'm like, it's right here. This is when I twist like this or move like my leg this way. It's like, but I can feel it in this particular spot. Do you feel like you could give a decent massage, or would you even venture to do that? Would you be like, no, we should actually do this instead?
Yeah, I kind of feel like I'm not that interested in being like a manual therapist. I mean, I have the skills. I learned how to do all of this. I learned how to mobilize all the joints. And so I have those skills. It's just I kind of feel like I want to like empower my patients. And so I feel like if the expectation is that physical therapy is just a massage, then the patient is just going to become overly reliant on that, you know?
I would definitely ask for some massages.
Yeah, you would keep coming back, but my ultimate goal is for you to not need me. And
Yeah, for sure.
So like I might use it a little bit at the beginning of a treatment, like for someone who's like in a lot of pain or something like that. Definitely it has its place in physical therapy. Sometimes you do need to like calm that system down, but I wouldn't want to continue to let that be the expectation. I would want to like facilitate the patient doing it on their own.
Do you have a massage gun of your own?
Yeah.
Is it amazing?
Yeah.
It's fantastic, right?
Yeah.
I just got one the other day.
Yeah.
I wanted to get the one that has the hot and cold compression.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's
and
nice.
And then it has the other attachments like the cone and the ball part, all that sort of stuff. But it's pretty awesome. As someone that loves massages as much as I do, I don't know why I didn't get it earlier.
Yeah. No, they are very useful. I also have like a cupping set. I think we may have talked about this last time we
Yes, I haven't
spoke.
done the cupping yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You like find like the trigger point in your muscle, the point of like tightness, and just stick the cup over top of it and just bring some more blood flow to the area.
Yeah.
Calms it down.
Wow. Huh. Yeah, I still have to try that one out. I
Yeah.
don't know anything about cupping.
Yeah.
I'm always getting like heat in the sauna. I'm always in the sauna. Every time I go to the gym, I also go in the infrared sauna for like 35 minutes. Oh, because it's like 150 degrees, so it's not like piping hot, so I can kind of just sit in there and sweat out for a little while. So I do that. I do want to ask you, because you are a music lover, so I feel like we can have a small, it doesn't even have to be long, but I do want to talk to someone that knows something about something.
Okay.
How extensive has the conversation been so far that you have had about any of the top tier rap dissing that's going on right now? When I say top tier rap dissing, I don't mean the actual raps themselves. I mean between the rappers, like all the Drakes, the Rick Rosses, the Future, Metro Boomin, Kendrick, J. Cole mix up thing that's happening right now.
Yeah, I kind of love that Future's just like giving a platform to these rappers to just diss each other. It's kind of hilarious to me. Yeah, I'm much more partial to "we still don't trust you" than "we don't trust you."
Okay.
Future's kind of like more in his R&B bag there, and I feel like the production on the first one is a little overdone. I know
you're getting into the production.
like
Okay.
Metro likes to create this like cinematic like rap space, but like with Future sounding like kind of deadened on drugs, whatever. Like it just
Right.
didn't really work for me. But then on the second album, he's much more like R&B focused than like rapping focused, and it sounds way better.
Okay, so you're a R&B Future type of person, because I think there is a split between those people. Same as like Drake or anyone that probably does both. Like for that matter, they're like the hip hop versions where people are like, I just want to hear you rap.
Right.
And then there's like, nah, leave that rapping shit alone. That's not for you. Like, I'd love to hear you sing though. You do that thing pretty well.
Right.
Yeah, I get that.
Nah, I like my rappers a little soft.
Got you. So speaking of, so then that means that you're a fan of J. Cole apologizing for his diss towards Kendrick that he has since taken off of Apple Music. That is no longer streamable.
It's just so silly because it like was not a good diss. He like tried to say "To Pimp a Butterfly" was bad. Like what the fuck?
he said J. Cole definitely said some egregious things. It was a terrible thing. I said from the beginning that like as soon as I heard it, I was like, I love what he tried to do here. Like I love the little cadence he put together and all that. Like I felt like it was very listenable. But it was the accuracy was terrible. Like it was not accurate. The things he was saying were just all lies. It was like J. Cole, there's no way you even believe this. Like you don't believe the things that you're saying. You don't believe that To Pimp a Butterfly was terrible, but that we gassed it up. Was that the one that won the Pulitzer Prize? Was it that one or was it Damn?
It was Damn.
Yeah, and then, and to say that his last shit was tragic, to say that Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers was a terrible album, it's just like, you do not believe that, Jermaine. Like, you do not, Jermaine, you don't believe that, and we don't believe it either. There were a lot of things he said that I didn't like, him saying that he averages a hard verse every 30 months or something. That he's dropped 4 albums over the course of 12 years. And these aren't like real points. They're like moot points. Because what you're saying is that people revere him as though he's the greatest. And he's only dropped 4 albums over the course of 12 years. Like, what does that say? Okay, on its own, that he's looked at the way he is and there's only been 4 albums in 12 years. 2, don't be like that, because you would love to release something every now and again. Like I believe he's been recorded being open and saying that it's nice to just like live away from that whole scene. And he's doing that. And I think that ultimately Jermaine and the rest of us applaud Kendrick for living his fucking life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Doing whatever it is that he does. And then coming back when he has something to say in releasing an album. As opposed to most of the people we know that have nothing to say or not a lot of anything new to say in just continuing to release content.
Right.
So yeah, there was a lot that was just not good about that disc.
People like putting out like 20-song albums that are just incredibly bloated and like have so much filler, where Kendrick is like perfectly creating an album. He is an album artist. Like, I don't know.
I asked my friends one thing that they would like to see more in hip hop and one thing less. And there's definitely, I think a couple of my friends definitely said, please be done with the 20 plus more tracks on an album. Like, please stop giving us 32 track albums. Like, please, like whoever, I think Chris Brown has a couple of those where it's like 37 songs. It's like, bro, like, bro, what am I going? I can't just keep dancing, Chris. I can't just keep dancing. Like, I can't do this.
They put like 30 something songs out in hopes that like a couple of them are on like Rap Caviar playlist on Spotify. And it's just like,
what do you think if you throw out 38 songs? 2 of them.
Something's
like,
gotta stick.
You know what I'm saying? Like, come on. That's very impressive, first of all. To be even make that many songs is impressive.
Absolutely.
Like, to just keep thinking about different ways to talk about how you're going to sleep with someone or get to the point of sleeping with them, because what else is, like, what's Chris Brown talking about? What do R&B dudes talk about aside from that, right? So, yeah. How you just keep finding new ways to talk about that? Why, it's crazy. It's very, very, it's very, very wild. And to be honest, now that we're on this whole Kendrick thing and him speaking when it seems like he's inspired to actually speak about something, I've talked about J. Cole on here a million times. I love his music. I think it's amazing. I love listening to him. I love listening to all the different things that he does and all the different ways that he does it and the wordplay. It's phenomenal, right? I love sensitive Cole, when he's a bit more introspective and insightful. Love that. That's my favorite Cole. And he has been killing verses on all these features for a long time now. He's just been out here and about, just competitively rapping. And what I will say is that the raps themselves and the level that he's doing it at and all the different cadences and pockets and stuff that he's doing and the melody is very, very cool. But he's not really talking about much outside of being the best and making a lot of money at this point for doing it. And every once in a while, of course, you'll get an insightful bar about him, saying something, political adjacent or something like that. So I just didn't like, again, that he kind of reprimanded Kendrick for not constantly dropping, like not wanting to be a current, Like, you're not popping. Pretty much is like what he said. And it was like, ew. Like, did you, ew. You put that in your rap, J. Cole, that he's not popping? Like, you did that? You know better than that. Like, you shouldn't make fun of people for not popping. Like, that's not cool. It's not a cool thing to do. He doesn't want to be popping. If he wanted to be popping, he'd be the most popping out of all of you.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to do that. You know what I mean? So there was all that. Then he comes and apologizes, and I'm sure there's a split here too. I know a lot of people hated that shit. Hated it for everything that it was. I thought that it was a great moment for hip hop because I felt like it was a great advancement for like emotional intelligence. That for the very first time, a man stood up in rap and apologized to another rapper for saying things that he didn't feel good about saying afterwards. Never happened before. So I knew that people weren't going to respond, graciously to it. But I felt like that's great for you. That's great for you, Cole. I also understand people that feel like they were robbed of some great moment in hip hop where these colossal titans were going to fight it out in front of us, and it was going to be the biggest thing to better than every diss ever, better than all the old 50 Cent stuff and the old Eminem raps and Nas and Jay-Z, and it was going to be any of those old ones. It was going to be better than The Game and 50 Cent. It was going to be better than all of them. Pusha T and Drake, it was going to be better.
Yeah.
People wanted that shit. People wanted that, but yeah, nah. I'm glad that he didn't do it, but I also understand why people just kind of like, all right, well then get out the way then and let these other people rap. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if that's where you're at with it, then just get out of the way and go make your cool little raps over here. But like, but we no longer look at you as a contender amongst these other couple of people. Yeah. That's kind of funny too.
Yeah. I've always been a little bit of a J. Cole skeptic though.
A skeptic is so funny. What do you mean? What were you skeptical of exactly?
Skeptical of if he's like that great. I don't know.
So, but when his like albums would drop, you would listen to them?
Sometimes.
Oh, okay. So sometimes you like. What did you listen to? Did you listen to Forest Hills Drive?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you listen to what was the recent one that came out?
I don't know. I listened to the one that was like, I think had a purple cover. Him with like
Oh no, KOD.
Yeah.
That wasn't the one.
That was bad.
That wasn't the one. That one wasn't the one. No, we all agree.
And then I think I stopped listening to him after that.
Oh, got you. Yeah, okay. He started cooking up after that though.
Okay.
It was after that he started actually becoming who's like the way that people are looking at him now. It was after that. Because it wasn't that. It wasn't that. It wasn't even Forest Hills Drive. Like, people weren't even looking at him like that then. Like, he was like, oh, he's cool. Like, he's doing some cool things, but it wasn't like the way he's rapping now. It's just like a completely different tier of rapping, like what he's doing. Very different.
I like his feature on the new Future album.
I have to listen to that. I haven't heard that, but I hear that it was exceptional.
Yeah, it was like a 6-minute song. So.
And do you still listen to Drake? Do you?
Yeah.
He's just
I'm not one of the dogs.
Yeah.
It was for all the dogs.
And you weren't one of the dogs.
No.
You didn't feel like one of the dogs.
No.
Got you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked his album with 21 though. That was fun.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what's going on and why so many people are upset with him all at the same time. I mean, I suppose this is something that has just festered throughout the ages because I don't know what's going on at all. I don't talk to any of these guys, but there's so much weirdness going on. You know, you got Diddy out here, his house is being raided, and the fuck is going on with Diddy, right? That's wild. And then you have some huge pile on where like all these huge megastars are all just dissing Drake and like and all upset with him all at once. And it's just like funny to see on the outside because to me and my friends, rap beef is very funny because it's terrible that it exists, that it's like it's prominent in this one genre of music. And I was trying to talk to Ron Marie about like the origins of why hip hop is so competitive and like why it feels this way. And I'm talking to her about people freestyling on the streets. Like I'm bringing it back to the 90s. I'm talking about like where it came from and people battling and, you know, rap battle being as big as it was and that kind of growing into what hip hop was on the streets and all that. Like I'm bringing it back. I'm trying to get molecular with like why it's so competitive and why people have to shit on the next person in order to be at the top tier rap, because pretty much the conversation devolves into or simplifies to, can you be a top tier rapper if in your songs you're not shitting on other people?
Dude, did you follow the Nicki Minaj and like Meg the Stallion beef?
No. What was that about?
That was not that long ago. Meg the Stallion like rapped about how Nicki Minaj's husband is a on the sex offender list. And Nicki Minaj like goes into this spiral on Twitter and is tweeting nonstop for like 36 hours, then drops like a diss track to Megan.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
What is there something's going on? There's something when did this happen?
This was like probably like 2 months ago or something.
Oh, there's something in the air.
Yeah.
There's something in the air. People are getting really loose. like people are getting just very loose, making wild decisions, putting out wild information.
Yeah.
Oh God. Once you have, and once something like that hits, I couldn't imagine. This is one of these woe is me type of deals. I feel like we often. You remember when that "shut up and dribble" quote came out from like it was some news person and they were talking about LeBron because I guess LeBron had gotten political adjacent. He made some political statement or whatever, and she was pretty much just like shut up and dribble, and that was like a big saying. Pretty much saying like, listen, you're an athlete, like shut up, like do that thing that we pay you a lot of money to go do, which is dribble a basketball, nothing else. I feel like celebrities have some wild issues, like problems that we can't really understand. I have no idea what it's like to be Nicki Minaj or what it's like to be any of these people. But they do live life by a very different metric. It's like very, very, like things are very different. Like the things that people say to some degree matters. Like people want to act like they don't matter. Like, you know, let them say whatever they want to say. But then somebody's talking about how your husband's on the sex offender list. And you're like, fuck, I was at the house chilling, you know, just like hanging up, just walking around all these millions of dollars that I've made, just having a good old time. And I look on Twitter and this person's calling my husband a sex offender. You know, maybe it's true. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But either way, I have to say something now. Like, or I could just not, but then what is not saying something like what, you know what I mean? Like you and I are not dealing with this.
No.
Like no one's trying to find out information about us and like put us on blast on like that's not happening. But sometimes you just got people that don't fuck with you. That's weird. You know what? Go ahead. Were you going to say something?
No, you can go.
We have this weird perspective as fans and as just onlookers that people in the industry, because there's so few of them, they're friends and shit. You know how many jobs we've had where we're not friends with everyone there?
Yeah.
Where you come out with maybe one friend after working there for 2 or 3 or 4 years. These motherfuckers are not friends. They're not friends. Like all these people that they hop on songs together, or we see them at this gala or at this thing, or these motherfuckers are not friends at all. No. That's what all this rap shit, that's what, if anything, all this beef shows is these people that hop on these songs and make all these millions together do not care about each other. They're co-workers. They work together. They go and they make a song together because this label and this label want to make money, and they push these two together and say this would be the right time for this. Or maybe they just want to get money together and it's just like, yo, let's do this. It would look good for my image if I was on a song with you, and it'd look good for your image, or whatever. This is going to boost your sales. We might as well go ahead and make money together. We're both hot right now. Let's do it. All that shit. They are not fucking friends. They're not friends.
No, they're all competing.
So we're just like, oh my gosh, how could so-and-so do this to this? And it's just like, dude, they're not friends. That's how they could do it too.
No, it's just like
friends.
climbing the corporate ladder, like it's a networking event.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very, very weird that no matter where you go, people think it stops in high school, but like all the cliquey politic stuff, it continues on. That's another reason why I had to leave that place. Why I couldn't keep working there.
Yeah.
Going to work in a corporate environment and it would be so exhausting. I would get up in the morning just knowing that I'm about to go to work in a place where, like, it felt like I was going to war. Like, it felt like I was going to a place where I was expected to do certain things, but then I knew that there were going to be people kind of like holding you back from doing certain things. Like, they would sabotage certain things that you would do. They would look at you and say one thing and then go and try to tell a secret or get you in trouble some way, and just like in very tattletale ways too. Very tattletale ways. There was a time I got tattled on for reading a book. I was in what was kind of like my office at the time, and I was just like reading a book for a few minutes. Reading a book. There was nothing going on in the restaurant. It was very, very dead. Just reading a book, and one of the other supervisors had walked past, and they just like, and then they went to my superior and told him like, yeah, I saw Earl reading a book. Like, he shouldn't be reading a book. Like, he should be going off and doing something right now. And it's just like, dude, this has nothing to do with you at all. Like, but
there's just no need.
But like, to feel like the impetus to like, I gotta go tell. Because if I tell, like, I'm gonna look good. I'm gonna look like I'm a part of the team.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh gosh. So there was just all these little moments that were just, but then again, of course, after that person goes and tells, they come back to you and like, they try to be your friend and ask you about things and get more, for you to say more things.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's weird. So I can only imagine when a ton of money gets thrown in between and you're a super megastar rapper and it's just like money and egos.
Yeah.
I don't want no parts of that.
Yeah. I've been working at like a smaller restaurant for the first time, and it's like, or for the first time in a long while, and it is so different than working for like the fancy hotels that like, because after I worked at Salamander, I worked at the Jefferson in Richmond.
Right. Yeah,
so going from like that kind of environment to going to like a pizza joint is like crazy, and I'm still making bank. It's just like, the pizza slaps, people want to get a beer. I'm still making bank.
Oh yeah, you can still definitely make money at a place that is not luxury, for sure. People are still spending a ton of money to go to other places, often.
And it's like a much easier serving job than I've ever had. It's like so relaxed.
It's so relaxed, but you were forged by the fire though. That's the thing. That's the reason why you can go, because you have this reference point where things were far different. You had to carry yourself differently. You were speaking differently. The intensity was different. Now you don't have that. So it's a breeze. It's a cakewalk at this point. You were forged by the fire.
Yeah. It's like a sports bar. So like Saturday night, UFC night. Oh my God. I feel like that brings out the absolute worst customers.
I used to work at Buffalo Wild Wings, so I remember those nights. Like, it was, for sure. Yeah, people that just want to see blood. That's who's coming outside. Like, think about it. Like, the whole bar is just filled with people that want to see blood splattered.
And they're like getting excited because someone is out for like a whole minute or something.
Yeah.
They're like,
like knock him out. Like, break his arm. Like, we want to see it.
Yeah, it was an absolute shit show.
Yeah, and then you just throw a bunch of alcohol in there too.
Yeah, it was a shit show. There was like some girl that vomited in the bathroom.
Always.
And then I cut her off, rightfully, and she was like, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. I was like, no, it was you.
It wasn't me. Yo, lying about your vomit on the ground is pretty crazy. That's so funny.
I was like, my coworker saw you. Like, we're not idiots, bro.
It wasn't me. I've seen some wild stuff in bathrooms. Like people have no idea. Like the service, food and beverage industry is very unique. It's a beautiful thing. And if you've been in it, you know what's going on. But I think it's fascinating. You get to see so many different people, so many different walks of life, in so many different moments of their life. You just get to see people angry. You get to see, I've had couples screaming at each other.
Oh, yeah.
I've had couples looking like they're about to start fucking in there, as close and as intimate they are. It's like one of these little ass booths, and they're both sitting on the same booth as opposed to sitting in front of each other like the booths were made to do, right? So they're like squeezed up on a little booth, and they're like this close from each other's face, and they're just like, they can barely even see each other. I would be dizzy. Their eyes must be crossing because there's someone this close to their face, like it's just like face on face, and they're making out a little bit, and they're doing all the little pillow talking and all this stuff. I'm like, damn, this is crazy. I've seen people on first dates be very, very fucking awkward. I love first dates.
I love that too.
I love seeing young people on dates. When I see like 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds on dates, like younger people, that's really cute to me. Seeing how these little awkward people, trying to make something happen is very fun. You get to see so many different people, and you just get to see people show their fucking ass. And
Absolutely.
And some people come out and they have no couth and no sort of outside etiquette whatsoever, and they just get to acting an ass in so many different ways. And that's why you have throw up in the girls' bathroom. I've seen shit in the girls' bathroom, only girls' bathroom, by the way, only girls' bathroom, in the middle of the floor. Guys shit nastily. Sometimes you're wondering what happened in here. But I've only seen it or heard from other servers of finding it just on the ground in the middle of the floor in the girls' bathroom, just in the girls' bathroom. I've only ever heard it there, and I'm just always asking, like, why is this here? Yeah,
I feel like the tipping structure that we have in the U.S. kind of like breeds this entitlement in people that they're like, well, I'm literally paying your salary, so I can do whatever I want, and I can treat you however I want. And it's
yeah, people are weird with that. Yeah, just that idea is a weird one, that people will hold that over certain people. I've never personally had it. It probably has something to do with me being a 6'4" black man that just they don't feel quite comfortable trying me this way. But I've heard them say to other people, and a pretty strong Salvadorian dude, by the way, just things like, clean this up, please. Like, you don't want it to affect your tip. Or just people just saying things adjacent to that. Like I am paying for your, I will be the one giving you your tip tonight. So like, they'll just say some shit like that. I'm like, well, they said what to you? Well, yeah. Are you serious?
Yeah. Like, you have to earn their respect. And they're like, yeah,
it's very, very interesting. And I don't know how many people know, what servers are getting paid and how they get paid, and just like what that looks like for them. I don't think people truly understand that. I know a lot of people do feel awkward about going out and tipping. Like, what is a good tip? Should I always just give 20% and then do more if they were really good? Or should I really do the 15, 18, 20, 22, 25% like kind of spectrum thing? And if I really didn't feel like they were that great, should I give them 15%?
Yeah. I feel like we use like the little toast tablets at our restaurant. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that is really awkward because they're like, they have your little machine. So you're not supposed to like leave it at the table because you're like putting your orders in or whatever using it. And so they So then they like have to hit the tipping button while you're just like standing there awkwardly.
Yes, that's kind of, yeah, it's kind of extortion. Like you're just standing there like, hey man, I'm gonna hit that button now. Like, what you got? Yeah, no, that is, that's definitely, it's a weird situation. This is also something I tried to kind of get molecular with, was figuring out where this sense of servitude and just like subservience, I should say, overall, that a lot of people in the service industry feel. That a lot of people feel like people do not appreciate them, and that they kind of, that they ultimately have to act like someone that they're not in order to appease people so that the people give them their money. And that's the way that it's taught from the elder statesmen in service to the younger people coming in, is this is the way that you're going to want to do things. This is the way you're going to want to act. You're going to want to talk like this. You're going to want to speak like this. And that way they'll like you, and then they'll give you more money. Like, these are the things. No one says just be yourself. Like,
Yeah.
very rarely do you just hear someone say just be yourself. You know how to ask them for things. Listen, write the stuff down, repeat it back to them. Go put the stuff in. Be attentive. Walk by. Ask if everything's all right. Like basic things. It's very, very weird thing. But I think, that holding the money over people's head is a tough one. Which is why I do support restaurants that do the 20% for parties of 6 or more type
absolutely.
of deal. Because there will be times where a motherfucker will come by with 15 people and not tip. That's a wild thing.
Yeah.
Because that means for a server, that could very well, for people that don't know, that could take up their entire section or the majority of their section, meaning they're placing all their eggs in one basket. Like, I'm going to take care of these people for the next, if it's a party of 6 or more, if it's 7, 8, 9, 10 people, they could be here for the next 2.5 hours. That could be throughout the entire, the entire rush of people that we're going to get for the night, pretty much, right? Most people, let's just really break this down and say they're going to come in for dinner between 6 and 7:30. Most humans here in America eat between 6, 7:30 p.m. Or that's when their dinner reservations would be the highest. So if I get a party of 8 people, 9 people, and that's split between 2 of my 3 or 4 tables, that's the majority of my tables, then that means that they're going to be there 2.5 hours. Okay, all my eggs in one basket. Check is $300. If I work in an establishment where there is not a policy that sets in place parties of 6 or more, already 20% gratuity in that server's hands, then that means that server just spent that amount of time making $0 if that party decides to leave them $0 for whatever reason. That is the cutthroat part of the game. Like, that is many people's reality. And I don't think enough people know that. And so if it's a party of that, magnitude or not, like that number or not, servers are not making money unless people are giving it to them.
Correct.
Like, it's not happening. That hourly rate, we never see it. It's not even a real thing. It's just for tax purposes. It's nothing.
Yeah, I get paid $7 an hour.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that little change is different because you will see that when you will have a paycheck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that part is nice. Yeah, I don't know what. So, I mean, people still tip me 20%. Like, I don't think my managers like really disclose that, but I've heard of some restaurants like instituting like the no tipping policy, and I don't know if that's like great either, because with tipping we can make bank.
Mm-hmm. No tipping meaning just giving
hourly wage,
a realistic hourly rate wage,
like $15 to $20.
But
like a good day,
yeah, good day with tips, like you could very well surpass that. I've had
make like
30,
$35 an hour.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know if it would be worth it.
Yeah, serving's an interesting gig. It's a very, very interesting gig.
Yeah,
and it's interesting for different things for like men and women, because there is this phenomenon of women not speaking. If there's, and you probably will attest to this, if you go to a table, you have a 2-top, it's a man and woman, you can clearly tell that they are man and wife or their partners
together or whatever. Yeah.
do you automatically, is it just written code in you to automatically give her more energy, like just a bit more attention than him?
Yeah, absolutely.
Boom. See, that's the thing. So even that's a little different for you as an experience in the service industry than it is for me, because that's not something that I consciously think about at all. But I've heard that from like 80, because I started doing a survey. I got really interested in this and just started asking a lot of people. It's about 90% of women are definitely taking that route. And I walked by this table one day and I'm cleaning up one of my tables, and there's this man and wife next to me. And and now the server had just left that table, and I just heard him communicating with them. And it seemed so fun and inviting. He was just, featuring our specials and going over things like getting them their first round of drinks. So it was just like the welcome, and it was fun. They were making jokes and stuff like that. As soon as he walks away and I'm cleaning up my table, I just hear her like, "What the fuck are you looking at?" She's like, "Look at me." She's like, "I don't want you looking at another woman in here, not a waiter, not a host. No, look at me." Right. And I was like, okay, like time slowed down. I was like, this is clearly a joke. Like, I just have to look up and look at her facial expression. It's going to show me she's joking with him. I look up. She's not fucking joking with him.
She's seeing red.
She's angry. And I'm like, yo, this is really happening.
Wow.
And she's just like, I'm fucking look at me. And I'm like, okay. And I just like walk away. I go tell the server like, yo, your table's tripping the fuck out right now. Like, this is pretty crazy. And they just kind of kept this up the entire time they were there. Everyone was going by and looking at them. But she was just in there just like, stop fucking looking around, just going crazy on them. I'm like, I don't know if this is a thing that they like. Maybe this is like a kink type of deal. Like they go out and do this gets them hot and bothered. They go back. I don't know. But it seemed very, very absurd.
There's some fresh wounds or something.
Or that, right? Just like, what was he up to? What did he do? Like, why is she acting this way?
Yeah.
But yeah, very, very wild stuff. So you see people of all different sorts in the service industry, but it's fun.
I do think like the skill set can like be applied in lots of different situations. I feel like it has a lot of carryover, especially like any customer service job it has carryover with. And like going into PT, part of my role is like customer service and like making my patients feel comfortable talking to me and things like that. So like, I don't know. I feel like some of that like carries over that skill set.
No, it definitely does. I've been wanting to ask people this other question too that I've thought of is like, what in your life do you feel like has been most instrumental to your current level of social aptitude? Like what was the infrastructure? What was it? Were you going to camps? Like maybe it was camps for you. What was it? School? Was it just you had a bunch of kids in your neighborhood? But like what was it that allowed you to build the infrastructure into the entire edifice of what is your social aptitude today? And I just say that because the element that you're speaking about in customer service that kind of trickles through all these other mediums is learning how to read a room.
Yeah, absolutely.
Learning how to string together a few sentences, decent eye contact, consideration, like all these things. Like what, like where did that come from? Like why is it that it's so much more difficult for other people, than others? And I know that there's a lot of answers for those things, but that's something I'd like to ask anyone. If anyone's ever thought about that, what was that for me? Because we all have our own, levels of social anxiety or whatever the case is. And some other people just don't seem to really have much at all. And it's very fascinating sort of skill set to just learn how to connect with other humans,
Yeah.
And to not have that, I feel like is So I feel like that's a tough existence because it's pervasive. Like it's in everything that you do aside from sit at home and play video games alone, or, you know, if you do something IT related. I'm certain that's why a lot of IT, you know, people are the way that they are. It's like they figure this thing out for themselves. Like, oh yeah, I'd love to just sit on a computer by myself all day long and just do this. I don't want to interact with other people. But for the rest of us that have to interact with other people, it would probably behoove us to just like know how to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's rough out there. There's so many places I go and I'm like, man, this would have been so much more of like a better experience if like this person had good customer service skills. But they were like really rude or
Yeah. I feel like I get it. Like both of my parents are in customer service jobs. Like my dad does, like he's a tech service person, but he is like constantly having to like communicate with his clients and like build code for them and like really collaborate with them. And my mom does like property management. And so I feel like they like, I don't know. I feel like I like would hear them like talking to their clients on the phone or like whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And like I feel like I did learn it from them. And then I also feel like with my parents, they like encouraged me to like do all the things. They were like, you got to do something. You can't sit at home. So like they kind of like put us in sports young or camps or whatever it might have been. So we were always doing something and like really putting ourselves out there. They encouraged us to get our first jobs and customer service jobs and like, yeah. So I think that skill set definitely comes from my parents, and it's an incredibly valuable skill set. It makes like for example, I've been starting to take calls from recruiters, and like it makes it so easy to like connect with them and be like, hey, this is who I am. Like maybe you guys should hire me.
Yeah.
And like I've gotten really like positive responses and feedback just from being able to like talk on the phone to someone. So like I don't know.
Dating. Everyone loves everyone loves dating. Most people hate dating. What I mean to say is everyone's gonna date at some point in time, right? And I hear often that it's just not very fun for people. And I can't help but think that a lot of that is because a lot of times doing things that you're not good at aren't fun.
Yeah.
There's some that are, like Top Golf. You don't have to be good to go there and have a great time just swinging out a ball all day long, drinking, eating with your friends. Bowling. Dancing for some people. Some people are not just going to start dancing if they're not good at it. They're like, I'm going to leave that for other people. But in the privacy of your own home, yes, dancing, even though you're not good at it. So there are a lot of things, you know, like that. But for a lot of things, people don't like to just do things that they're not good at, especially if it's like, if there's any social ramifications that have to come attached to it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, going out and dating, if you don't like talking to people, like you ask most people, they don't even like people. Like they'll tell you, most people will tell you if you ask them flat out, do you like people? They'll say no. Like, what are you talking about? No, I don't like people. Like I don't like there's some people I like. They'll say that. There are some people I like my friends, my mom. I love my dog way more than all of those people. Like, I don't like people. So going out on dates is like you're already going out to do something you don't like. Like
right.
Just to start off, right? And then you have to, and then you're not necessarily very curious about people, right? But then there's even a caveat there. I feel like people are very curious, which is why people love people watching so much. Like people love celebrities and celebrity news and all that. Like, I think people are very invested in what other people are doing. That's why social media works the way that it does, because people love knowing what the fuck other people are doing. So I feel like it's a very reductionist view to say that people don't care about other people. They're not curious. I think that's not right. I just think that people have a lot in their head that gets in the way of investigating that curiosity about things. Because it's very, very difficult to ask questions about something you may be interested in if you got a bunch of other shit on your mind and you can't bring yourself there to think about asking, constructing good questions to get good answers from someone when you're too worried about how you look that day, or if you're going down the right path, if everything in life is panning out the way it was supposed to, or some shit like that. Whatever anxieties you're going through, it's very, very difficult. And I feel like that's a lot of what's going on. Yeah. People are curious and they would like to connect with other people, but I think it's very difficult to do so because people have so much on their fucking mind and they don't know
how to get out of their own head. Yeah.
Yeah. To like actually be there and let the thing happen. Like,
right.
It's not.
What's one of your I know you're not dating anymore, but when you would have first dates, what was one of your go-to like first date questions that you asked someone?
There was only, so I didn't have a go-to thing. This is what I love about conversation in general is I just feel like people know when things are forced. Like you can feel it. Like
absolutely.
Like you can feel when someone's like trying to get a point across, or they're like really trying to like just press the issue of like, I'm trying to get you to go out with me or whatever the thing. Like you can feel that. I'm trying to make this certain topic work right now. Like I'm trying to just wedge this piece in here, even though it doesn't quite make any sense. Try my best to just like not do that. So there's no go-to because I'm going to go to whatever's happening right now. Like we're just going to work off of the energy of what's like whatever observations we just make right now. That's what's going to build the road to this conversation that we're about to have. So I didn't have that, but I did always want to know a little bit about what their experience has been like on whatever dating app that we had, met on. Those are always fun. You'll never get a dry answer when you ask someone that's been on dating apps for like a year what their experience has been like. Oh, you're going to get a great story. At least one great story.
Fair.
Yeah, so I would always love to know about that. What's your experience been out here in this dating world? Because I know you've come across some crazy motherfuckers. I know you've done some wild shit. I know you've seen some wild shit. It just gets to you.
But there's not like a question you asked that like tells you like about who they are.
No.
Or like clues you into like if their values align with yours.
There was back when I was just thinking too much about it, like too hard about it. I would ask people if their favorite color walked in the room. Like, how would you describe, like, if they walked in as a person, like your favorite color, and to not tell me what the favorite color was, tell me, like, describe that person to me that just walked in the room. I would do that. Reason being is because there's some study I read that was like people's favorite color is like, if you can get them to describe it, is sort of like a reflection of how they see themselves to some degree. So that person is then unknowingly kind of telling you how they look at themselves, or at least kind of maybe what they would aspire to be in some way. So that was like some little trickery question that I had to kind of gauge that. Which is kind of just like an asshole thing to do. It's just like, it's really unnecessary. But yeah, so that was something I had, but that was long ago. That was very long ago. But I definitely did used to ask that.
I always ask people like what their like 3 favorite albums are.
That's funny. 3 favorite albums of all time across every genre.
Yeah.
Oh, that's you. People answer that. That's such a. I mean, you could just throw some out, but I feel like it's going to change maybe the next time you ask me. Maybe.
It does change a lot for me. I always have like some answers in my head. But
and you said 5 at that? Yeah, because, that's that is.
Or sometimes maybe just top 5 favorite artists. That might be easier than like a specific album.
Yeah. Yeah, those are very, very tough.
But I feel like it tells me everything I like need to know about them.
I get that. Yeah, I mean, I would have to. There's got to be one from John Mayer for me. Like, I got to give him that respect. And it's if I'm taking one from him, then it's probably Continuum. Probably Continuum. I was like the blues, like started the blues for him. Well, it really jumped out, and that was good. That has a lot of good songs on it. I mean, Gravity is on that song. Uh, Slow Dancing in a Burning Room is on that song. I was on that album. Say is on that album. That's crazy. Yeah, Waiting on the World to Change is on that album. It's crazy. That album. That's a. And those are just the big ones. That's why I named them. But like all the songs on that album are crazy. Yeah, Continuum is on there. Continuum. I'm thinking even it's. I gotta give one to Ye. And that's
what is your favorite Ye album?
That's a tough one. If I give my favorite, because it's not going to be anything that he's made in like a long time.
Me either.
I'm just thinking, is it Twisted Fantasy? Because that's crazy. Or is it Late Registration was so good? But Graduation, I played 1,000,000 times.
Oh my God.
That's very, very tough. I feel like maybe just because I played Graduation so many times, and I just remember what it was like when I had the album cover and how I was like so proud to have this work of art that he made with that guy. Like, I may have to, and it was 2009 at that. No, it was 2008. Was it 8 or 9?
For which one?
Graduation.
I think it was early. It was like earlier. It was like
2007.
and then he had 808s, which is like
Yeah.
2008, 2009,
Yeah.
and then he had Fantasy with 2010.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Yeah. I may have to. Oh fuck, that's just so hard, man. I may if I want to take one from him, I'm just gonna throw Graduation in there.
I love how obsessed with Playboy Cardi he is, though.
Oh, I didn't even know that was the case.
Yeah, have you not listened to like any of his recent stuff? Like the album with Ty Dolla $ign.
Nah, I didn't. I
Vultures.
listened to like a song off of there. Someone was very graciously made me a playlist that I thought was very, very cool. There's all sorts of very interesting songs on that playlist. But no, I didn't go through. I'm not really. There's certain music I'm not really checking for anymore. But I'm not really. Sometimes I'll just drive and just have the windows down. I'm just driving to just the sounds of tire on gravel and shit. Like it's just in wind blowing, so I'm not even really an authority at all on any music and what's going on. I'll be out of touch. I'm a little out of touch. Yeah, then outside of that, I don't even know. I'm only on like 2 albums right now. I think I just named. Yeah, I don't know. That's tough. That's very tough.
But it just facilitated like 15 minutes of conversation. So like it's a good question.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of really good music out there. It's just another thing that was said in that chat of what more do you want to see in hip hop or less? Another answer was bring back concept albums. Like bring back whole bodies of work that are cohesive, that make sense together, as opposed to them being kind of like a playlist of sorts.
So Kendrick.
Well, people. He was saying that like that is maybe a lot of the disconnect between the Kendrick lovers and the Kendrick haters is the people that kind of hate him just feel like he's doing too much, like on the albums. It's like it's kind of the concept like is to have something cohesive, have like a thought, a theme that he's working with, because this is what is moving him right now. And I feel like there's not a lot of that happening. Like people do not move on that accord. So people are spoiled and they're just like, oh, you're just supposed to throw songs on here. I'm supposed to bump. I'm supposed to do this and that. And you're forgetting that some people just make a whole body of art. And they're like, this lives all together and is packaged as such.
Yes.
And, it's supposed
and
to
like,
be.
You can't take one piece out of it and still tell the same thing.
Yeah. Like it all runs together.
Yeah.
Like a record used to. Like some people, just imagine that there was a time when you didn't skip through songs. Like you put a record on, like on a record play, and you just let that shit play. You didn't go through and rewind and then skip, and you just let it play.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I do still do that to a degree.
No, of course we skip. No, of course that. But
I also like build plenty of playlists where I'm like, oh, I don't feel like that today, and I'm like skip around.
Yeah, but it's like just paying, homage to not skipping through something. Like just to say, the start of this album is as important to the last song in this as the last song is to the beginning of this. Like it all correlates, right? From top to bottom, through and through. And just that concept has been a little lost. Another one, I don't know if I'll put up with my favorite albums, but when Lupe dropped The Cool, I believe that was also 2007. I believe I was playing that in graduation just back to back. That was a very cool concept album. But,
I feel like you are still seeing it outside of hip hop though. Like plenty of like indie rockers and like other country is having a huge moment right now. And like plenty of those artists are making these, like telling these stories. So I think, yeah, when I get tired of like not having a cohesive thought or not telling a story, that's when I like turn to other genres, because like sometimes, I find other genres have different themes.
Yeah.
And different themes even than like rappers address too. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've been starting to have like a metal era because,
Whoa. Is that right? Yeah, because no, I don't know. You know what? What am I supposed to know? That's supposed to
I don't know. I've been feeling a little rage.
You've been feeling that?
Yeah, I've been feeling a little rage, and so I started listening to Deftones. Wow. That shit, like, sometimes if you need to escape your head, you just need to like hear guitars really, really loud in your ear.
Would you be interested in going into one of those therapy rooms where you just get to smash a ton of shit?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about going to a rage room. I think.
Oh, is that what they're called? Rage room.
Yeah.
Do they just have those around like escape rooms? Like, can you just pull up somewhere like nearby and just
destroy like a TV?
How do you run a business like that? Like, what is their insurance like?
They must just like, I feel like they probably just like pick up random shit from like thrift stores, yard sales, and give you a bat.
Oh, yard sales for sure. That would be the place to go.
Give you a bat and say, have fun.
A yard sale. People still have yard sales? I haven't seen a yard sale in like a long time. I feel like that's, oh no, have we lost yard sales?
I feel like so.
I feel like, is that like a great pastime? Is only in like certain neighborhoods now where there are yard sales taking place?
There's like this like occasional like thrift markets. I've gone to a couple of those where it's like everybody's like setting up their tent and they have a bunch of random things that they're selling.
Do you feel like you have a sense of community where you are? Like,
I feel like I have built that for myself.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like within my class, like obviously, like I'm working very closely with my classmates, and like we're all always hanging out, studying, whatever. So I feel like I built my community at school, which I'm a little nervous about, like moving away and like trying to rebuild a new sense of community when I don't like know anyone. It seems like a fun like kind of place to navigate though, and like be like, all right, well, like let me go try out this like bowling league, or like just do some like random things and just like see if like how, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, some people I've heard, like, I don't know if you've heard of the name Naval Ravikant, I believe his name is. He's like a huge mogul financial guy. But he and other people like Jay-Z, two very different types of people I'm talking about now, have talked about if you take away their money and drop them off somewhere, in a certain amount of years, like they would make their money back. Like there's just certain like laws, like kind of like they've figured out, and they just kind of know, like, okay, like I know how to make money now. Like there's a process. I understand how to do it. So if you take this away, I will rebuild it. And there have been certain people that I've definitely felt like, and I've felt this feeling. I'm wondering if you, oh, I guess maybe you don't, kind of is what your answer just told me, is that if you take away what you have now, could you be dropped off somewhere else and feel confident that it would rebuild just because you understand sort of the laws of what it takes to speak to people, make relationships, network, but not in a weird, creepy, forceful way.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like you would make friends.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like you're like a repulsive human.
Oh.
You know,
Well, thank you.
but I really mean that to the definition. Like, you're not going to like repel people. Like, people don't feel that way about you.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, some people repel humans. Like, other people are like, oh, I don't want to be around them. Like, whatever they are. But you're not one of those people. So I feel like it would go over well. You would just need time.
Yeah. No, I think I'll just need to like settle for a little while and like go to like my neighborhood events and like go to these things and like not be afraid to like put myself out there.
Yeah, going out to neighborhood events.
Yeah.
Little barbecues, block parties.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I don't know, you have to start somewhere and like
get out to that pickleball court, see who's out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just put yourself out there. I think it will like kind of feel good, like feel refreshing to just like try and like rebuild something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it would just for the sense of adventure, you know, like it'll be unlike anything else that you're doing.
Yeah.
Like it does have to change, you know. So that'll be cool. I mean, it'll also just be good for the muscle of embracing change, you know. If you want to kind of circle back to neuroplasticity. It's kind of like one of those things, right? Having new experiences with new people and just new things being thrown at you and having to wrestle with new puzzles.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. And I like see myself going into like travel PT at some point because that is like basically a sweet gig.
Mm.
They pay buku bucks for you to just like travel around and like work at this clinic or this clinic. So I definitely see myself doing that. I feel like after school, I need like a period of just like, okay, this is where I live. I'm just going to be here, relax, get like start my life basically. And then once I'm like more comfortable in the field, I feel like I'll feel confident enough to like do travel PT.
Mm. Guatemala was the first place that you went to do something like what you did, like, because it was kind of like a mission trip for physical therapy, like in a sense, right? Like you went there to educate, you went there to actually perform therapy on some elderly people for the most part.
I was seeing literal babies as well as elderly people.
Babies, what's going on with the baby?
Like if they have like developmental delays, things like that.
Wow.
So I was literally seeing the entire lifespan in Guatemala, and it seems like all of the physical therapists, like there's no specialty in Guatemala. Like everyone sees whoever walks into the door.
Mm-hmm.
And they are like working extremely hard. All of the clinics that people were at were very busy.
Mm. So when you have a baby with a developmental issue, like a mobility issue, like are you just taking the arms and legs and just moving it in such a way to like try to create more? Like what does that look like? Because you clearly can't. The baby's not complying with you.
Yeah, it's more like trying to facilitate them to like, for example, if a baby's like delayed on crawling, trying to facilitate them like at least getting on their hands and knees, because that's that would help build up the strength in their shoulders and their legs to crawl. So it's a little bit different. And I was really struggling with it initially because I've never like worked with children, and here I am in another country like trying to use a translator and work with this like small human. So
that's such a wild experience.
So I'm like, okay, well, I gotta figure this out. And I guess I like had to reframe in my mind like a functional activity for you or me is like walking up the stairs, like putting the groceries away, whatever, but functional activities for a child is playing. And that is like what they need to be able to do to function and explore their environment. And like if a baby's not crawling, then it can't explore its environment and can't like get acclimated. So it's kind of like it was cool. I don't see myself going into peds. I'm not that creative. I mean, I had this one little girl. Her name was Dulce because she was so sweet.
Aww.
Yeah, she was adorable, and she was like 4 or 5 years old and just a ball of energy. And we were like running around the whole clinic, like having a blast, playing all these different games with her. Trying to make the games actually be therapeutic, which is the challenging part.
What was the most culture shockingly
Culture shock.
What was the biggest culture shock you had?
I don't know. That's interesting to think about. I guess like it was pretty shocking just how different their healthcare system was from ours.
Mm-hmm.
And like getting thrown into just a different way of doing things. For sure. 'Cause like, for example, we had these 2 home health patients that I would go, at the clinic working, there was like 2 students as well as a main physical therapist that the students were working under. And so me and the other student would go and treat the patients in their homes. And like she didn't know, this one elderly lady had a stroke, and she didn't know that it was like really going to help them if we got her up and got her weight bearing and on her legs and because that'll help bring that sensation back to the side of the body that was affected. So it was just like we had very different treatment approaches, and they were like, oh my gosh, you guys like come in with all of this like high intensity training for these patients. Whereas we're like more like, okay, they have to reach these certain goals before we even let them get out of bed. But I feel like at school, like so far, what I've learned about like treating people with strokes is like get them up, like they need to move. Like if they don't move, they will lose the ability to move.
Damn.
Because that's like one of the founding like principles of neuroplasticity is like use it or lose it.
Yeah.
If you do not use like a skill or a pathway, a neural pathway, it literally will just
like, all right, I guess we're done here.
Yeah, clip it, because you're constantly forming new pathways and constantly like taking in new information. So like if something in your brain isn't valuable to you anymore, it's just like, okay. And after a stroke, your body doesn't know what is and isn't valuable to keep. And so like a lot of degeneration happens.
So it's like that's the time when you want to like try to solidify certain neural pathways as best you can.
Yeah.
To make sure that they don't just dissipate.
Yeah.
Ooh, is there like a certain amount of time that's like the best? Like as soon like if someone has a stroke, like is there a certain amount of time that's best?
The first like 6 months of rehab, it's like pretty like critical.
Okay.
And like at least in the US, if you have a stroke, you go to the hospital. You're in the hospital for like maybe a week, and then you usually get transferred to either a nursing facility or a rehab center, or you get sent home with home health. Like you have extra support, and you're like with medical professionals for a period of time after that initial week. Sometimes like 2 or 3 weeks, you're staying at a different facility, and then you get to go home and you have to work in outpatient to like finish the recovery. But it's a crazy thing to recover from. And I saw patients that were recovering from it like very well. This poor young woman that I was treating over my last internship was like in her 40s and had a stroke, but she was like determined, and she like walked every day with her husband and like really put in the work, and she's like back to work and like doing her thing. So it really does depend on like how much they can handle. And that's where it comes into like I am hoping to facilitate that like independence with that, because like, yeah, they have 2 hours of therapy a week, but sometimes like in an injury like this, it's not enough. Like you have to put in the work outside. So I'm trying to empower you to make you feel like you can do that.
Yeah, I had this conversation with Von Marie recently about, when people say this phrase, I used to have this segment on this podcast where I would always I would define certain phrases that maybe a lot of people don't know. So I thought it was pretty funny. I'd like to define got the game fucked up. Just when people say that, you kind of get the context of what it is to say you got the game fucked up. It means you do not understand the framework of this domain that you're currently in. That's what you got the game fucked up means in layman's terms. And I feel like we as humans, there's a really good book on this by Michael Easter called The Comfort Crisis. But as we as people have moved on and gotten more sedentary, we have got the game so far fucked up that we feel like the movement is extra. They're like getting up and moving around and doing stuff like that's extra, like that's work. Like one might think that exercising for 2 hours is like, that's a lot. Like that's a lot of exercise. But we have forgotten that that's what humans have done all of our lives.
Yeah.
Is get up when the sun came up and move until the sun came down. Like you had to get shit done. You had to move shit around constantly, fight shit, run, pick berries, hunt, whatever the case was, forage. Like you had to move around, right? Which is why when you're talking about children and what their therapy is like, they need to play. Like that is what their exercise is at that stage. It's play. They're running around, they're jumping, they're throwing shit, they're picking stuff up, they're squatting, they're getting back up, they're getting down, they're getting back up, they're getting down.
Yeah.
That's if you had most adults play like children do, they'd be fucking beat in like 10 to 15 minutes.
Oh, absolutely.
They would be, if you told them to do the same shit, they would be beat the fuck up. It would be terrible. And we just forget to just keep moving.
Yeah.
To just get up and move around and like try to find fun things to do outside if you can do that, But yeah, we just got the games all the way fucked up. So we're just like hanging out all the time and we're just relaxing. We're sitting down most of the time, most of us. And like the getting up and doing something is the extracurricular. So like the whole thing has reversed and we grew up in it. So we don't know any different. Like, but it's like people are not moving as nearly as much as their body was made to move.
Right. And the way to make that a lot of people are like movement avoidant because they're like scared of it hurting or scared of whatever. But it's crazy. Like the thing that makes that pain or that fear go away is actually just doing it.
Bro, that's the duality of life. It's like everything that you don't want is in the place you don't want to go get it. Like your fears and anxieties, you have to go towards them in your psyche.
Yeah.
In order to get rid of them.
Yeah.
It's the only way to like extract them. Like you have to deal with them, confront them, however that looks for you. Mm-hmm. Right? It's the only way to dispel the fucking maleficent hold that it has on you. You know what I mean? And that's just the duality. A lot of times people they feel depressed. In the things that it would take to dispel the depression, the depression makes them not want to do. Like you don't want to go to the gym. The gym's going to make you feel great. Like once you come out of it, but like you're depressed. So you don't go to the gym. So therefore you're more depressed because you didn't go to the gym. And it's just like, it's
a negative feedback.
Yeah, exactly. And like, that's kind of how it goes. It's always some shit like that. Like it's the thing that you don't want to do that's going to give you the thing that you want. And my friend, I was talking to my friend about it on the last episode I recorded. It's just wild to me when I know, because I know super athletes, like guys that just their exercises are insane, but they don't stretch. And as someone that stretches normally, I don't, because I also exercise regularly, and I know what exercising feels like, and I work out pretty intensely, not with the amount of weight, but just the amount of what I'm doing.
And get your heart rate up.
Yeah. And I know what your body feels like when you exercise regularly. And I'm just like, how do you not stretch? I'm like, that don't make any sense to me at all. So I just don't even know what it's like to be inside their other bodies, or if they're like their bodies have just acclimated to not stretching. So they just kind of like soldier through that shit.
Their muscles are just always tight.
Yeah. So like they don't feel that they're really tight because they're always tight, you know? But for me, if my muscles get tight, I'm like, oh, that muscle's tight. I need to do this. I need to move this way. I need to stretch this, you know? I couldn't imagine just being like, oh, that's tight. Oh, well, and just moving on about my day. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I immediately have to start getting to that. Yeah, I got to start twisting, contorting.
I'm always stretching, I feel like, throughout the day.
Yeah, but these guys, they also have, they've been athletes their whole lives. So they also have the knowledge that if they were to stretch and take regular care of the muscles, whether it be massages, you know, foam rolling, stretching, all that sort of stuff, that not only would they recover faster, but their performance would be better in whatever sport they play or whatever. Like it would all boats rise on the same tide. Everything would get better at the same time.
Yeah.
But they're just like, man, sometimes I've heard that shit hurts though.
Yeah.
You know, so as you're talking about being movement avoidant, right? Because it may hurt. It's like, yeah, a lot of people feel that. Like, I don't, like, bro, stretching fucking hurts, bro. I don't want to do that shit. Like, my hammies, it's like, well, one motherfucker is because you waited 12 years. You waited 20 years to start stretching. So I can only imagine. I'm certain it does hurt. For me, at the stage that I'm at, there's the duality of stretching. There's no just pain for me. I don't feel like when I stretch, it's just like, oh my God, this just hurts. There's pain and pleasure together immediately. Like I feel alleviation with whatever sensation of pain is coming as well.
Yeah.
They're in tandem. So it's not just like, oh my God, this is excruciating. Why would anyone ever do this? It's like, oh, this hurts, but I get it. I get it.
I'm like lengthening this out.
I see why I do this all the time. This feels fucking great. This is amazing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, you know, I don't. What are you gonna do? But I'm glad that you're in the field that you're in, because we got it. We are not mobile.
No.
We are fucking not mobile.
No.
I see it all the time. You see the people on the little, what do you call those? The little buggies that take them around Walmart and stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, those little things. I saw a motherfucker on the side of the highway. Had probably 350 pounds or something like that. And he was just riding one of those things that go all of 5 miles per hour. I was like, what is he doing out here on the shoulder? Just like, I'm like, what exit did he come on to the highway? What exit is he getting off? Why is this thing his real mode of transportation on the highway? Like, what is happening? It was pretty crazy.
That's insane.
He was getting around slowly.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a different lifestyle. Yeah. I don't.
Yeah, I will never be, my job will never be sedentary, and it will never be from home. I will always have to go to work, which is
I'm a believer in you got to make it fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think that you're just going to bully people into going to the gym, and I don't think that that's reasonable to think. I think you have to find fun activities for people to engage in, as fun as it can be for them. Like something, you know, if you got to get them out in the sun, that's great, because now you're getting some vitamin D too, you know, whatever it is.
Or some movement that just like gives them some meaning.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. There was like this one patient I had, and he was a Parkinson's patient, and he had Parkinson's plus, which is like Parkinson's.
Plus.
plus like more symptoms. But the symptoms can be like kind of like very different for people. Like he was having hallucinations.
Whoa!
And like, yeah, so.
Yo, having hallucinations and you're sober is crazy.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So but like the biggest thing that he was having difficulty was rolling over in bed. Like he just like could not make that movement.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so like
just couldn't generate the torque that it took to kind of roll over, huh?
Yeah. And so like helping him to be like, he was walking, like he walked fine. He got out of a chair fine, but he could not like roll in bed. And that was like driving him crazy because he was having a hard time getting out of bed because of it. And so like helping him be able to do that, he was like so grateful. And like,
yeah, of course.
It doesn't have to be like, I don't know. That's what I've been realizing. It doesn't have to be this like huge, like I'm not going to like change someone for who they are. I'm not going to make like a huge lasting change. I just need to help them be able to do that thing that they want to do.
Yeah.
That movement that they like would give their life more meaning.
Yeah, which is a lasting change.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a lasting change. It's a big thing for them because sometimes it's it's just going to come down to the simple things.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about getting like rolling. Just rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why that Live to 100 show was so interesting to me because I was like, I've given my time to all sorts of shit. I will absolutely give my time to a series, you know, dedicated toward centenarians and blue zones around the world and like what is it that they're doing that's just is like because all these places do not have money. Like a lot of them do not have money, but they have family, they have friends, they have food that they grow, that they cook.
They're probably keeping their brain and their body active as they can.
A lot of it, yeah. I mean, I've read studies on just happiness. A lot of just longing happiness, not just like that fleeting thing that people you're chasing sometimes, but like just longing peace of mind and happiness in one's life is highly generated from meaningful relationships.
Yeah.
You know, and just just knowing that people love you, they care about you, they actually like being around you and like hearing from you and talking to you, like all that sort of stuff just really pumps people up. Like it really vitalizes humans. Really, really does. So that's a huge deal. Like there's just certain places where like an old folks home doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Like, it's like we don't just put people in retirement homes. Like, no, they live with the family or there'll just be neighbors and family that just come by the house often to just check on this elderly person. And they might be outside working in their fucking garden or whatever. Yeah. And they just have people bring them some bread and some wine and some this and some that. And they're just chilling. People help them out when they need it. But there's a reverence for old people, because these people, they're not looked at as a nuisance. They're looked at as wisdom, wisdom, something that we all need, while they're here to still be able to have constant contact with these people and, information given. They can be a little kooky, but they've also been on the planet for much longer than we have. And something comes with that some of the time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm extremely close with all of my grandparents. I'm very lucky I haven't had a grandparent loss in my life yet. And I know that it's absolutely going to rock me when I do. Yeah. But yeah, I'm extremely close to them. I call them every week and talk.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you one of those.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I love talking to my grandparents because they offer such different advice. They have just a different perspective about the things that I am talking to them about. They all have their unique perspective after being alive for 70, 80 years. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's just the not giving a shitness. It's just literally the nonchalant manner in a lot of elderly people that's probably the best thing. It's just the calming nature of listen, I know that this thing seems like it means a lot to you right now.
It doesn't.
It's just sit down and eat some pie. Just sit down and eat some of this pie I just made. Relax. It's not that big of a deal. Just that perspective. just seeing more and experiencing more and having that work on you in such a way where you're just like, listen, I've seen this thing a million times. You'll be all right.
Yeah.
It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Just that perspective.
It is. It's definitely like calming for me, and like makes me get out of my head a little bit to just like, yeah, share it. It doesn't take that much effort either. One of my grandparents always complains that I'm the only like grandchild he has that like regularly calls him, and I'm like,
oh yeah.
I'm like, why? Like, I just don't understand. I guess I'm probably like the least busy person. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that could be it. It could just be some people don't like speaking to older people. It's kind of like how some older people don't like speaking to younger people.
Fair.
Like, yeah, I get it. You know, younger people are looking at the elderly like, fuck, first of all, this is going to require patience.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to have to sit here and like wait for them to get through their thoughts. Mm-hmm. You know, and these stories that they're putting together to try to get across whatever point that they're getting. And I hope it's good. Because if it's not, then fuck. Like, I just sat here for that. I think that's an idea that people have towards elderly, and I think elderly look down at young people like, the fuck for? Like, you don't listen to shit anyway because you're young. So I don't really feel like wasting too much of the little bit of energy that I have to sit here and try to talk to you about this thing. And so that's a disconnect between some elderly and some young people. But because there's the phrase like the youth is wasted on the young.
Yeah.
Right. But then there's a sentiment that I've felt, and then I just most recently heard in a show that I like a lot called Ted Lasso. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I love Ted Lasso.
But he had said,
so good spirited show.
Oh, it's great. It's great. So wholesome.
Yeah.
But he said, don't let the age or the wisdom of age be lost on you. He was talking to Roy Kent at the time. But it was pretty much just, like
the best arc.
Yeah, like if you're old, wasn't it? But it's like if you're older, maybe if there is any sort of responsibility on the young to take care of the old, then it is definitely got to be the responsibility of the old to relinquish the wisdoms of being on the fucking planet for however long you've been to the young. Like that's got to be the bargain here. Like that has to be the exchange.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's certain places where they're doing amazing things, just moving around. Just staying sharp, playing games with their families, having conversations. And I get it. I feel like just having done this podcast, I've thought about the weirdness of it many times and how I have so many conversations that I otherwise wouldn't have with people. And that's had to have meant something.
Yeah.
That's had to have like made more of an impact than I can actually even fathom in my life. All the different faces of seeing all the different stories, all the different, tidbits of information here and there, all the different connections. Very, very interesting stuff. But I definitely feel like there's something in that does keep you young and vital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. As a podcaster, do you listen to podcasts too?
No, it's another one. I'm just listening to the fucking leaves blow outside, I haven't really been listening to too much content, music or otherwise. Some TV shows I've gotten into, couple movies, but no, I haven't really been listening to like long form podcasts or a whole lot of music recently. I've just been like still minded.
Sometimes you need that time.
Yeah, it feels really nice. 'Cause I'll like pick up my phone and act like I'm about to go to iTunes or something like that, and I'll be like, I don't even want to. Like, why am I picking that up? Like, I don't even want to listen to anything. Like, I know a lot of people do not like stillness, just silence. I absolutely revel in silence. I love talking to people and music and all that stuff, but I absolutely love absolute silence. I love it so much. It's so calming. It's phenomenal. So sometimes I'll just do that.
Yeah, I'm not that way.
Not you. Yeah.
I am like in the shower listening to podcasts and like trying to keep my brain
What are you
active.
listening to?
I have a couple different. So, and there's like, I love when you get to this point in a podcast where you know the people talking so well that like, you know how they're going to respond to different situations. Like there's this one journalism podcast that I listen to called Trillbillies Worker Party. And it's it's like super progressive Southern folk.
Okay.
Like they live in Kentucky, but they are like very, very progressive.
Okay.
And so I've been listening to them for a while now. And so now it's like, okay, I know like they've been covering like the Palestine, Gaza, stories like very closely and like spreading what they believe about that situation a lot. And yeah, I don't know, I just like now have picked up on like how they respond to different new news articles coming out or whatever, and so like it becomes a source of comfort. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that is exactly what happens. Yeah, you start to listen to someone for it. You know, I used to play a lot of guitar, and I knew that years after playing, anytime I would hear guitar like in a song, like my ear would just pick it up. Like I'd be able to pick up as soon as a guitar started being played and exactly what it sounded like and probably where they were on the fretboard of the guitar and all that. I could picture it. I could hear it more. And so I think it's just like your voice or your ear starts to tune to a certain voice. You're hearing this voice talk to you all the time. And as soon as that voice cuts on, that frequency clicks, and it does feel like home. It does feel like something you're familiar with and you're comfortable listening to. And now that person's like a friend of yours. Like they're on there and you're listening to them and you're laughing when they're laughing. It could be an inside joke. They say some shit that you don't quite understand. You still laugh because you're just like, oh, they're having a good time.
Yeah. There's one podcast I feel like that for me. It's the New York Times Popcast.
Okay.
It's like a music criticism and news podcast by the head music critic at the New York Times.
Oh, wow.
And so he brings in like writers from like Rolling Stone or like Pitchfork. He also works very closely with a music reporter at the New York Times. So John Caramonica is the host of the show, and it just like, I have been listening to this podcast since like 2016. So like I every like new album, like I've like heard him talk about his thoughts about music for this long that like I know how he's going to respond to like different art for the most part.
Right.
Which is like very fun. It's very fun to like get to know someone like that, and like I don't know.
Because then something will drop and you're like, oh,
what's John gonna say?
I have to listen to him talk about this. Like I remember he was talking about this like a year ago. It's gonna be crazy to hear. Yeah, I get it. It's a story. Yeah. That's what people are drawn to, stories. They love a good story, and they love tuning in and like seeing where we are now, like where are we at now? Where is this person now? Because when you're doing podcasts, you're watching a human go through their evolution.
Yeah.
Like you get to get in their thoughts and be like, wow, I remember when they were saying this type of stuff. Like now they're completely done with that. They're on this whole new thing. Like you're watching them go through an evolution as a person. They're sitting there talking for hours and hours and hours. You really get to see a lot of different sides of a human that way. Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty cool. It's been pretty fun doing it.
Yeah.
I would say, I have no idea what it's looked like for anyone that has like listened through the entirety, you know, for me, because that must have been crazy, because as the person, the evolution has felt crazy, you know what I mean, for me in the past 4 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, it must be crazy, but that is definitely the whole shtick of a podcast, is making it feel like home, you know, and people just tuning in to see where their guy or their gal is at, and what they're talking about that week.
Yeah, I've also like found it like to be very relaxing to listen to while working out, and I know people like need their pump up music or whatever, but like sometimes it's nice to just like move my body and be like thinking about whatever they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I get that. I mean, I've listened to all sorts of shit. I've listened to classical music in the gym. I've listened to clearly definitely my banger stuff, which could be comprised of rock and rap stuff. I've listened to nothing, which I've been doing recently.
That doesn't surprise.
Yeah.
But then you get stuck with like the gym's like incredibly cheesy like EDM playlist that they're playing or whatever.
Fortunately enough, now that I've just moved health clubs, the playlist is far better, and they're playing some awesome shit. Some 90s R&B was playing in there. They had some pretty cool things. Of course, they had, you know, you're gonna have a Adam Levine or Bruno Mars pop in there every now and again. You know, you got to have those songs. But nah, they have some pretty cool stuff in there. Yeah, I'm all right in there.
My gym is like
No, it's
playing
always
like
the worst.
club music.
It's always the worst.
I don't
know what the whole gym thing is with music, and it's always terrible.
really.
I just don't understand like what that whole thing is.
My gym-
Like who is creating the gym playlist at the top of the gym corporations?
I don't know, but
who is
they
that
should,
person?
Can they hire me instead?
Yeah, for sure. Because I feel like you would be reasonable.
Yeah.
Right?
I would put in like, you know, some songs that people want to hear, but I'd
Because you can't offend everyone too.
yeah.
You got to find. That's the thing. You got to make it like everyone wants to go. That's the tricky part. Is like everyone has to want to go to your gym. You can't only make like a couple of types of people go to your gym.
No, that's true. That's very true. I like when I'm a lot of times when my friends and I are like going to hang out with each other, we'll both make playlists and be like, this is what I'm listening to or like whatever. So I like making my playlist, like being like, okay, well, I'm going to hang out with Charles, so this is what I'm going to put on there. Like thinking about like how they respond to things too.
Yeah. Yeah, that sort of gatekeeping that like that's my friends used to talk about it just as black dudes going to the club. Like guys at the door sometimes, certain clubs would be like, no Jordans allowed. Now, I don't know how that falls on most ears, but for certain people, to say no Jordans allowed is excluding a very particular type of person. Because it's like, why this particular shoe? Not tennis shoes. Jordans. Like, you don't want people with Jordans. It's like, okay, all right, I get it. So none of these guys. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough. You don't want to exclude people by only playing certain music. But you know, yeah. It's tough. The inclusion exclusion thing is always interesting to me. I feel like trying to tackle. I was having this conversation earlier today. I would never want to be a part of any sort of just like legislative body. I just feel like trying to work at stuff on a grand level is so difficult because there's so many levels of intricacies to everything. And I feel like the inclusion exclusion thing is just so difficult to try to get a quota of certain amount of brown people or people that look like this or whatever into something. But then at the same time, you have to exclude a certain amount of other people that look a certain way because there are already too many of those people a part of this thing.
Yeah.
Or like it always gets very weird for me. And I don't know, you know, if there's a way of actually fixing that, because I don't know. It's very, very weird to me. I was talking to someone that is in art conservation, and you know, they're in that domain. There are white people for sure, mostly, because it's art conservation, and that's what you would think. But they're trying to figure out a way, like there are initiatives to try to get more people that look different into it. And I'm just like, how do you do that? Because there's certain things that are sort of like yellow taped or like red taped in a sense. Like if you don't have a certain amount of resources and people that can take care of you and like front you certain money because the stipend that you get as a art conservator isn't much. Like if you don't have these certain things, like you're not going to be a part of this. Like that's just not for you. Like, so all these people that come from this place that look like that, like there's no way you'll ever be included in this domain unless you find a way of getting these resources that then allow you to do this thing. I'm just like, how do you do this? It's just such a weird thing to try to make things inclusive for certain people. And then you have to wonder, is it just like a thing that people don't want to do? Is it like certain things that like certain people just like they don't care about, or they just need like the proper information to know that it even exists? And it's something that, because I tend to think that if people know that things exist, one, that's a win. Like that's the very first thing that's needed to even know that you can do it. Like you need to know that it exists. But just I don't know. It just seems like a very, very like hard, very difficult problem to try to get people included. And then like the metrics of how many people do we need before we start letting these other people back in? It just seems like a very, very intricate problem. The inclusion, exclusion thing in people's domains. Because I know a lot of people are going through that right now. I know a lot of people's jobs are like, aren't hiring certain people or only hiring other people. Like there's just a lot of that going on right now. And I don't know like how that works out. I've heard people only hire like women only bakeries and stuff like that. And I'm like, all right. But but does discrimination go both ways? does no one come to you and say, so like, I have a son, he'd like a job, like, can he not work here? Is that not okay? Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. These are my thoughts on this stuff. It's just very weird to me. I don't know how it works.
It is weird that like in some instances, like being that inclusive also like comes with an air of exclusion.
That's the duality. I don't know how it works, and I don't think that there's a perfect way for it to happen. So I feel like a lot of like us living is just fumbling around, like trying to figure out like what's good for this moment. But all these things are very, very weird. I think that this is a good place to leave this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're about 2 hours in. It's about to be 5 o'clock.
All right.
You want to head back out here, see what this little woman's up to?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah,
I really
thank
appreciate
you.
This. It's been a little while. You said it's been a little over a year since you came?
I think so. Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm glad you came back. And I'm glad that you're in this state that you're in right now as far as being where you are in life, right? You fought very hard for this, and it's awesome that you're getting to have all these experiences.
It finally feels like things are like paying off.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get the first paycheck. Oh my God. That day is going to be a great day.
I think I've heard, this is just kind of like a general thing my friend has said. He said he feels like your 20s are kind of used to run around, explore, try to figure out what the fuck is going on to some degree. Mm-hmm. Very, very difficult task. Mm-hmm. And then your 30s, you're trying to apply those things as best you can, like you're trying to take all those things that you learned, all those lumps that you got, all those bumps and bruises, and you're trying to now apply them in your 30s and make something of yourself. Because a lot of people say that your 30s are kind of like your 20s, but with a little bit more money. And then hopefully 40s, 50s, you're starting to really, really enjoy the fruits of that labor. I think that depending upon what you're doing in life and what your lifestyle is like, that clearly varies amongst people. But just in a general sense, I'm glad that you're at the point where I guess you would be starting to apply these things into life, and you're going to start reaping some of the benefit of those hard working 20s of yours. Yeah. So that's pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah. I can't wait.
That's good shit. No, it should. I think that living, just like anything else, is just something you can get better at. So the longer you're here, the better of a chance that you have, working through things and understanding things better, right? Doesn't mean it gets better for everyone. Because some people they're not good at life. so they don't learn it very well. But they're good at some of the little games inside of life. So, it's always great when I talk about the happiness and lasting joy in creating meaningful relationships that sort of encourage that. It's always great. As you get older, just like other things that appreciate with time, so does appreciation. So you get to, as time goes on, there's more perspective that dawns on you, and it allows you to appreciate things more. And I think that in meaningful relationships that encourage happiness and lasting joy, one of the coolest things is being able to see the different stages of people around you that you care about and have cool relationships with, and just being able to see people be healthy and people be happy and people work hard and get achievements and, you know, stumble along the way and all these sorts of different things is just a very, very cool thing to watch. Just probably why having kids is so much fun for a lot of people. Like, you just get to see that shit from scratch. But, you know, you're clearly not my kid. But in our way, I've been able to see this happen for you. It's been very cool because I started at Salamander, would say 8 years ago, 9 years ago at this point. I don't know, it was a long ass time ago. And that's roughly when you and I met. So that's long. We're coming up soon. We're coming up on a decade
of knowing
each other, which is crazy.
Yeah.
That's very wild.
Yeah. We were
very wild.
We were young.
Some young rascals is what we were. Some young rascals. Yeah, but you're awesome. You always have been. So thank you so much for coming by.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. This is great.
Thank you guys for listening. Peace.
Bye.
Peace.